Thank you, Deputy. I now call on Deputy Andrew Doyle.
Thank you. I won't take 10. It's all fog in my throat. But anyway, Cahill, thank you very much. And it's unusual to speak on one issue in the day, but to speak on two in a day is definitely rare. So I said at the end of the contribution earlier on agriculture that what we need is actually a land use policy, not an agriculture policy. And I think Deputy Ryan and myself, we were at a conference about this time last year in Dublin, in the Storehouse, was it, somewhere, that you organised, where we had a very lively debate on the whole issue. And there's a couple of things that I think we all should agree, and I welcome Deputy Brazel's contribution. First of all, this is a global issue. Can't be tackled by all the big countries or all the small countries. It needs to be tackled by everyone. I think Ireland has an opportunity and the capacity to be a global leader in many ways with regard to the whole climate change effort, in the way that we are at the forefront, say, just for argument's sake, on agricultural research and developing more sustainable and efficient agricultural productions, but not just that. And I think the other thing that we need is balance in the debate, and to simply go down one route as being the panacea for dealing with climate change, I think, is a mistake. We can't say that it's going to be all wind, all solar. Absolutely. I think the target has to be, even if it was only from an economic point of view, to eventually eliminate our dependency on fossil fuel. And just to say to Deputy Ryan that during your absence, when I came in here in 2011, and I actually was chair of the committee which was then Natural Resources as well, we heard all the stories about the millions and trillions and billions or whatever it was of cubic litres or the capacity of the offshore oil and gas. The problem was no one had found it, and we did an exercise report on how that, if it were found and brought ashore, how the country could benefit from it from a revenue point of view. But still hasn't been found. So I think we'll have to just park that and not have a reliance on it, whether it's from a practical point of view or a philosophical point of view. I think we should just forget about that. I do believe that there's a mixture of efforts and initiatives that can be taken. Just to simply, again, to take the simple one, which is to wipe out all the bovines in the country. There's loads of Africa that's now covered in the desert that once had bison and those other ruminants roaming it. And when they went, the grass degraded, and we have still serious degradation of soil every year for every man, woman and child on the planet. Grass is one of the best sequesters of carbon known if it's managed properly. If it's let degrade, it's a net emitter and eventually decays in the ground. The land becomes useless and it has to be rehabilitated. It's a binding soil binder and it's also a sequester. Turning land into anything else involves releasing carbon back into the atmosphere. In my first term, I was rapporteur for both the Climate Change and Energy Committee and the Agriculture Committee on doing a report on land use and climate change and forestry. Whereas if forestry was actually allowed to be accounted for in our calculations, that we could actually bring down our net emissions quite rapidly, just at the stroke of a pen, literally, if it was allowed, but it wasn't. Now, there was further negotiations, obviously, has taken place since that time. But I think it is important that if we're going to accept that it's a global effort, that where we can actually produce food in a sustainable way, or the most sustainable way in many cases, that we should be allowed to do it and we should get some form of credit for doing it. And that's not, I think, I would agree with Deputy Ryan again, we shouldn't exempt agriculture. We exempt agriculture, we exempt potentially one of the sectors that can actually contribute to everything else. If you take the 3 or 4 big emitters, it's agriculture, it's energy and it's transport. If we have a total land use policy, we can actually, I mean, if electricity is meant to be the sort of best and most efficient energy stroke transport stroke green fuel available, it's going to have to come from somewhere. Storage is an issue. So, okay, we get more cars. We use off-peak wind to pump up Turlock Hill, which is within view on my kitchen window at night when it's not needed, to pump it up so we have a reserve of clean electricity. And when it was off the grid for almost 2 years, when it was being recommissioned after almost 40 years in service, the price of fuel went up, of electricity went up significantly. But if we tried to bring in 2 more Turlock Hills, we'd have outcry. We already see it when onshore wind is developed, and I think one of the things that has to be developed is the community buy-in, and that's why it works in other countries, that from the get-go, community participation, community benefit is seen as part and parcel of the deal. So nobody comes into an area, whether it's DSB, private developer, Board owner or anybody else, without saying this is what's in it for the community, and eventually those communities are rewarded for being part of the effort. The same goes for biofuel plants. The same goes for all sorts of recycling of waste that can actually be done under new technology that actually, instead of us having to export it, pay for it to be exported, to be taken away from us, so somebody else gets paid to turn it into energy. So those are the sort of honest debates I think we need to have. The other one I've seen recently here announced was that there are to be a number, as an initial phase, of gas, CNG, compressed natural gas depots set up around the country for fleet cars, or trucks, vehicles, and with an eventual rollout that they will be all over the country, so cars can actually be used, and that they, while they're fossil fuel, they're still certainly more cleaner fuel than some of the other fossil fuels that we depend on, namely oil and coal. So I think I touched all the points. I mean, we produce food, and we've Bord Bia have given us the label Origin Green, and the Food Harvest 2020 objectives, and followed by the Foodwise, said that we should be smart, green and clean. And I think those objectives can go to the way the food is produced, but also the energy that it produces as well, as part of it, as part of the overall effort. I think I go back to what I said at the beginning. A land use policy is the key to it. Whether that land is used for a wind farm, solar farm, biofuel farm or a cattle farm, I think balance and rational thinking is certainly the way we should develop it. And just to go on to the thing about forestry, yes, certainly afforestation is we are lagging behind. I actually, as I speak, there are people planting an area of ground on my own, and in the middle of that area, which is a bog, there are bog oak, bog Dail, some people call them, and they are there since the Ice Age. And it goes back further back than Deputy Healy-Rae was referenced. It goes back to somewhere a long way, BC as they call it. And that bog oak is still there. It's as hard as nails. It was when a big glacier went through the valley and levelled them and left them there. And today I have men planting that again with Douglas, Scotch pine and alder and Sitka. So somebody somewhere along the way is going to feel it. So I hope I'm contributing to the global effort on carbon greenhouse gas reduction. Thank you.